kind of let it happen, and that was that, David.
Yeah, and I don't know about what to say about that. I don't want to be too harsh, man. Simply, like a 24-move game in a high-stakes event like this, it's kind of unforgivable. Queen d3, bishop on c2, that's like an elementary attacking idea, and MVL definitely should have slowed down. But okay, we get another game instantly. That's the good news.
It is the good news. You could make the argument that a longer break might be more desirable, but if I'm MVL, I want to get straight into the next game, especially with the white pieces, and hopefully strike back.
And we see a very trendy line of the Sicilian. It's the accelerated dragon, where black very quickly fianchettos the bishop, and there were some forced draw lines, which I'm glad the players didn't go into there. MVL definitely not wanting that with the white pieces. But okay, we get a Maroczy bind. What do you make of this? Good news for Maxime? All the pieces on the board for a while in this opening?
Agree. Yeah, I feel like the Maroczy bind, just in terms of the structure, when you have the c4, e4 pawns like that, has to be a good thing in general. I think most top players always want this structure if they can get it. Easy development. Of course, lots to watch out for. You know, you have to kind of safeguard many pawns, many squares, but the rewarding thing, if you do take care of those things, is you have more space and much better outlook for the future. So I think he'll be happy to have a position that at least has a good future if he can manage the opening and middle game.
Yeah, very hard to get attacked here with white, so you're very stable, very solid for a long, long time. Extra space. Magnus loves these positions with the white side, so I think psychologically maybe nice to play it, the structure against him. Yeah, I think good choice by Maxime, and early days of course, but yeah, you got to recover from that last blow. That was crazy stuff, so unexpected. This whole tournament, Aman, is always throwing up these things when we least expect it.
Absolutely. This entire event has been wild, and I was never going to expect that the grand final would be any different. Bishop e2 played. I mean, a simple castling intended here. White always has in reserve moves like h3 or f3, and rook to c1 after knight d7, just to take care of the knight on c3. I mean, this is a kind of a pseudo pawn sacrifice, but I don't think Magnus has his eyes on the a2 pawn.
Well, you never know. He's pausing here, Magnus. Or maybe if it was like a must-win game with black and he's playing a lower-rated opponent, then you think about giving up your beautiful bishop and grabbing a flank pawn like this. But I agree. Even if there's I don't see any immediate refutation, I've got to admit. But
yeah, I will say that. And yet he castles, which is probably the safer choice. The knight on d7, moves out of the way to facilitate the bishop on g7 being active. But another idea is the knight simply wants to reroute to the c5, e5 squares, and I have seen quite a lot of the time the pawn on f7 actually makes its way up to knight f3. I wasn't expecting so much drama from a position I thought was going to liquidate.
Whoa, and knight takes h2. Brilliant move, apparently. The idea is that if the knight is captured, black will play pawn to g3, a fork, distraction for the white king there, and the white rook might fall at the very end. That is brilliant. That's out of nowhere.
Wow. I'm in shock because it really felt like pieces were just going to trade, and MVL definitely saw knight f3 and thought king f2 was safe. Instead, we're going to have an exchange, and now it's a rook endgame where you got to push that pawn.
Yeah. Computer says level, but this could still go in any direction. The black rook forced into passivity. Black does have a 3 versus 1 advantage though on the king side. I've got to say this one might be logical that this is level. It just feels like black will not be able to push on the king side anymore. And white will just wait with his rook if need be, and the black rook simply cannot move.
Yeah, there's usual ideas that when you have your rook behind a passed pawn like this, that you have great chances, but black's rook is very well stationed. You know, it's defending the g6 pawn while preventing any movement on the other side. And well, I mean, the plan is clear here. He wants to go and just take this pawn.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting dynamic when you take the pawn. White cannot actually recapture and go into a king and pawn endgame because black will be winning long term. So white will have to move the rook away here, but a check, pawn drops, and yeah, everything disappearing. Ooh, although the black king's coming, still not obvious.
Yeah, played with confidence, king g5. I feel like this is a moment where MVL needs to be quite careful. King e2, I don't think we can actually grab that pawn on f5. So, you know, this is more of a rook to f4 move, maybe in reaction, and just kind of hold on.
Yeah, just wait and maintain the fortress. And Magnus reacted slightly. I think he was a bit frustrated, but looks like neither side can improve their position right now. And okay, we'll see. Everything fizzle out. King versus king. It's a draw too.
Yeah, wow. What a weird result. Like, to get to a draw that quickly, I think maybe both players thought there was more in it than that. But MVL looking calm, cool, collected.